Welcome everyone. We're back, round 5 of the AusCycling Esports series. My name's Jethro from the Press Room podcast. I'm here with Gracie Elvin, the superstar. Gracie, we got the Bologna individual time trial course today. Uh, Everyone's favourite, certainly a hit or miss with the fans of Zwift.
Yes, I was looking at the profile.
Yep. Yeah, the profile is rude. As you can see, the Bologna course is an out and back. So they go out from Bologna, they go up to the top of the climb, they descend, and then they're going back up it again. So we know the climb's super steep. It's 2Ks at 10%. Fans of the Giro d'Italia or any Grand Tour will remember it from the 2019 Giro when they had, I believe it was the prologue, up this filthy berg. And it's a really, really technical TT in terms of pacing. A lot of different gradients to sort of operate in with. But we were just saying that this course, Gracie, or we'll go to the club standings, sorry, maybe you take us through the leaders. So we've got the Vikings Club, the Bathurst Cycling Club, and the Waratah Masters looking to go back to back and try and top this league again. And I understand that there are a few clubs battling out for fourth and fifth, the old chocolate medal. There's only 1 point between them. So I believe that's Randwick Cycling Club are sniffing around fourth place, and only fifth place is 1 point behind them. So it's a super exciting course, I think, for a time trial. It's a little bit of fun, and we're going to go live to the racing and see, well, the hurt is going to be on for many of the competitors today.
Sorry, guys, with
You
that
beauty.
audio
So
issue, but I'm back.
we're back, Gracie. That's just part and parcel of this, isn't it? We're already off live racing, and you know what? I thought this was a time trial, but they're off already. What do you think?
Gosh, the way that they've been racing this series so far, it's so competitive. I've been really impressed with the performances. It makes me hurt just watching them. I think this is going to be a really tough course today. That climb is short, but it's tough. So I think that we're going to have plenty of attacks today, which is what we want to see.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely attacks on this climb. And it looks like the women's is all in one group just by looking at this big bunch. So the women's grade today, we'll just have a look at this. Sorry, the men's. This is definitely the men's is 80 strong. Now, Gracie, do you think with the amount of flat that's in this course, we've got a bit of a flat stretch until they hit the climb. It's about 6Ks of flat. They do the climb, 2Ks to the top, then they descend. Then there's a good 10 kilometers of flat again before they hit the climb. So do you think this is a climbers course or a flat rouleurs course?
That's a good question. I think that there's going to be a few people trying to get a head start on the final climb, and they're going to, have to use that the first time they go up the Bologna climb as a bit of a launch pad. I think that the pure climbers are going to wait for that finish, but they certainly want to make all of the sprinters hurt both times. So I think that there's going to be plenty to play with today. Lots of different tactics. And I think the women's race too is going to throw up some really interesting performances. There's a couple of standout women that are quite strong, so it's going to be good to see what they do with this climb.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the women's already, we're seeing this is Georgia Howe, absolute legend. How good on Instagram from memory. I'll never forget that. Kate Spicy's there. That's good to know. But she's off the front with a 12-second gap. That is a big gap in Zwift. That's she's putting it to them early. She's gone from the gun and a nice little group as well. We've had a few late entries into this race, Gracie.
Yeah, this is a great turnout today. I saw Georgie Howe's name on the start list, and I'm really glad she's racing. I've got to commentate
Mm.
her in real life races this year, and she's kind of been one of the revelations in the National Road Series in 2022. She's raced really well at nationals. She is a great time trialist. She's come from rowing, so she's got a huge engine. And I'm not surprised to
Mm.
see her she's already 14 seconds gap. She looks like she must have attacked right from the gun. I think she's using this as a bit of a hit out for some upcoming races in real life, potentially overseas. So, yeah, I think they're going to really struggle to reel her back in. They're going to have to work together.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to hold off a decent group of sort of 8, 9, 10, and above when you're away solo. But a 15-second gap is significant, and we know the quality of Georgia Howe. No doubt about that. With Kate Spicey, Catherine Mackay, Bem Rose is in there, which is Jay Bemmers, I think. I think she might have changed her name, perhaps, just going operating on the nickname basis, which many do on Zwift. I don't mind that. But looking at George's bike, who we're on board with, Gracie, she's on the TT rig, the Canyon TT rig. Um, that's an interesting choice because in the game, the TT rigs are a bit heavier, obviously super aero, but on the climb, yeah, could there be a bike change halfway up the Bologna or the Bologna climb? 10%.
In races in real life, I've actually done bike changes in time trials. We even did one in a team time trial once. We got onto our road bikes, and that was a really interesting thing to practice getting the mechanics and Swannies ready for I think three bike changes because we needed three to finish. And unfortunately, I drew the short straw and had to be the one to follow the climbers up the final climb. That was pretty awful.
Oh
So yeah,
no.
oh, I don't know what Georgie's going to do today. I'd say she's going to stick on her TT bike. I think she's going to use this as a session. She's probably on her TT bike on the trainer, using it as a good workout for future time trials.
Well, yeah, if she reaches the climb with 19 seconds, she's got time to do whatever she likes. She could do a bike change or maybe even change her kit in game. But let's swap
Have a
across
cup of tea.
to the men's race. Yeah, have a cup of tea. That's right. Maybe a puka peppermint licorice. That's my favourite. But on board with the men here, we've got T Blackler, and he's just sitting pretty nicely in the bunch. It's all sort of together. And there's a couple of big hitters in this race that would probably have liked this course every round, Gracie. And I'm thinking of Mark O'Brien, who, looking at Zwift Power, he has the highest sort of watts per kilo in the 20-minute category. And those that sort of follow the Road Nationals in Buninyong every year have seen Mark O'Brien at the front with the pros always. So I think he also has the KOM for the actual climb. So I think he might be a contender today.
He's a good pick out for today. Mark O'Brien, evergreen, seems like he's been around for what seems like forever, and always competitive, and certainly loves the climb. And I was going to mention it as well. Loves that Buninyong climb, and this is quite a
Mm.
similar climb in the course today. 2 kilometers. I'm not sure how quickly they're going to ride it today, but it's around it's more than a 5 minute effort, but less than a 10-minute effort. So you really need to have a good VO2, but it's not like a pure long climb. So you need to have quite a good amount of power as well. And that's something that does suit Mark O'Brien.
Yeah, definitely. I think the KOM is, you're right, it's between 5 and 10 minutes. I think it's 5:50. So it's probably going to be a 5 to 6 minute effort for the men, and then maybe around 6 minutes for the women as well. So, I mean, that's not a full climbers type of effort, a real. Someone who would categorize themselves as a climber as they hit the bottom of the climb, by the way, and it's already off. Jay Smart is doing well, something that's not so smart and going off the front at the beginning, but I think we're going to see this light up very early considering it's the first climb of the course.
Yep, I think there's going to be a few people testing out the legs today. There's plenty of Tron bikes in there. I've been surprised every round how many Tron bikes there are in these races.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, the more I think, well, we have gone through more than 2 years now of COVID, so there's been a lot of
Well,
Zwifting happening, and I think a lot of people learning how to use this game to their advantage in racing and training, and yeah, it just shows you right now with all those shiny bikes glowing in the peloton, but it doesn't look like anyone's attacking just yet. Are they biding their time, maybe working their way into the first half of the climb and maybe using the second half to attack? But yet to see.
yeah, absolutely. And well, we know the Aussies dominate on Zwift. I mean, we did take home the men's esports world championships with Jay Vine. Freddie Ovett was there too, and Sam Hill. And then don't forget about Bree Vine, the legend, just coming in, I believe, ninth or 10th spot. So the Aussies and the Kiwis, the Oceaners, we dominate Zwift. And we can see here the powers that these crew are putting out to be at the front in this little pack. Look at Mark O'Brien at the front. They're all sitting on about 6 watts per kilo. It's very organised, which is interesting. We've got McLean in the Cannondale sort of set up at the front, and Mark O'Brien, Gracie, he is not on a Tron bike. He looks to be on maybe the Canyon Air Road. If I just look through my 720p, no, that's the S-Works Avenge, of course, one of the fastest bikes in the game. And we've got to remember, Gracie, that yes, they go up the climb twice, but they do have that big descent as well. So if you choose a super light bike, like I did last week on Zwift Racing League Innsbruck, you may get over the top of the climb with the front group, but then on the descent, it is a little bit challenging to stay on with a lightweight bike.
There's so many tactics that go into play in these races. It's so interesting to see what people choose, the gear they choose. In my opinion, Marco's probably a bit of a purist. I don't know if he'd ever choose a Tron bike, even if he could. I think he likes riding something fancy like he is right now. He's getting overtaken. It looks like someone is putting in the sword just a little bit. We have S. McLean from Cannondale. So this is an interesting move. They're not too far from the top now.
That's right. They would do in the real life. They would have done the bike change right around about here in the Giro. And we were talking about it earlier. Victor Campenaerts was just cost a Giro TT stage when he was on his TT bike, and then he stopped at this point. They brought off his his climbing bike. It was in the big ring in the 11 cog, and then they tried to push him off while he was in the 11 cog. He shipped the chain, and he ended up losing the TT by 5 seconds. But it's already splitting up. We've got McLean just sitting there. A little bit of a surge, 6 watts per kilo. Now Mark O'Brien's making his move on the steepest section, 16%, Gracie. It's all up around 7 watts per kilo. And now the climbers are coming to the front. And McLean, well, he's got more in his pocket, a couple of jelly beans, because he's still in front.
Yep, these guys are going hard. They're making that split. The bunch was definitely stringing out, but now they've got a good gap. They're going neck to neck here. Gosh, the watts are quite high. Watching those watts per kilo numbers jumping around, you can tell that they're almost, looking at each other if they could in real time, looking across, seeing how they're looking, how they're feeling. But because they can't, they're kind of testing out with the watts, I guess, how much rest that they can take without getting dropped.
Yeah, definitely. They're certainly holding. It's quite a big gap that's established. And I think they would hope to split it up enough that perhaps they could get a front group of maybe 10 riders. That would be enough to be a bit of a challenge for the rest of the peloton to bring them back. It looks like we've got about 8 riders sort of strung out. But McLean, he's going for the KOM here, just flying now. He's got a bit of a gap. O'Brien has just tailored it back to sort of 5-6 watts per kilo, and McLean is still pushing on with 6, which is some serious power. The KOM is in danger, but I think if they get over the top, Gracie, with only 3 riders, I reckon the peloton on that downhill, I think they'll come back.
Probably. I'd say that there's definitely going to be a good swell behind them that are going to chase back as much as they can. So for sure, these 3 riders, they need a few more friends to be successful to stay away for the rest of the race. There's just that bit too much time from the descent and then the flat that they're probably not going to work that well together, but they'll also have a bigger group coming from behind. But we can see one rider just trying to get across. Hopefully he can tag onto the back of these 3. Looks like G. Coslet. So let's cheer him on. Let's try and get him across. Oh, this is tough.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
last part of the climb, they must be really stinging now. Over 500 watts. That's going to sting. That's going to make it tickle a little bit.
Yeah. It certainly is. It's bloody burning, all right. GG, double G. That's the worst term you ever want to hear as a bike rider, double Gs. But they're coming over the top now. I think this is going to be the front group of 3. You have McLean, O'Brien, Aidan Sinclair, who's just listed as 60 kilos on Zwift, so certainly not a heavyweight like myself. And, of course, Mr. McLean. I haven't really checked his weight here, but it makes a difference on this downhill. They really got to step on the pedals, and I think we'll see them hold around 5 watts per kilo. And look at the gaps, Gracie. They put 30 seconds. Is that 30 seconds into the bunch? Wow.
It looks like
We've
it.
seen the
That's a
girls go up the
decent gap.
other side. Oh, wow. And we've got Georgie Howe. We're just going to swap to the women's now, just in the TT posse, climbing in the TT posse. That's Roglic and Van Vleuten style. But we've got a gap of, it's about a minute to Ben Rose in second place, who we see here now. She's with Catherine Ellie, who she's been riding, and I guess against quite a lot. Look at the S-Works TT helmet as well. Great choice. Versus Catherine Ellie's gone the bike path warrior, no helmet style, but they're still climbing at around 5-6 watts per kilo. And I think, Gracie, these two might extend their gap over the top from the chasing group.
They're looking quite good, that's for sure. To have 10 seconds to the next rider, 13, 30 seconds, it doesn't look like they're all going to come back together potentially. But I think for the women's race, because they're much fewer numbers than the men's, they're really just going to stay in 1s and 2s and 3s in this course. But wow, Georgie Howe has gone very well clear of everybody else. So she's on a mission today on that time trial bike. No bike change, looking like she's just going to kill her back today, climbing on a bike like that. But no comment there. That's her choice.
Yeah, no, she's doing really well. She's going to go over the top with about a minute's gap. Meanwhile, Ben Rose and Ali are just about a minute behind, and it is sort of, it's in clusters behind, but it is a beautiful, beautiful setting. This in real life is stunning. The actual archways that we saw the riders go up, I'm not actually sure what it's called, but there's 600, Gracie, and 66 arches in that sort of brick portico, and it took 47 years to build, and that's probably almost as long as it would take me if I was riding up there in real life. And we're seeing an attack already, Gracie. Who do we have on the gas?
This is Mark O'Brien. He is in the green and gold colours, which is a nice kit choice for today. He is taking off from the men's race. So I wonder who is chasing from behind, and if that group is swelling from the back, if he's going to be left out there to dry for that final climb, and they're going to, save their legs a little bit. I think sometimes that's a good tactic, to leave a solo rider out there for as long as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Mark has got on Zwift Power, he's got the highest watts per kilo. Just the highest watts per kilo 20 minute. So it's around 5.8 watts per kilo. So we'll see him sitting around that 6 sort of mark. And we've already got the two, McLean and Coslet, getting across, and Aidan Sinclair as well. So we have a front group of 4. Now, this would be really interesting and probably an opportunity for everyone watching at home, which, by the way, get in the comments and let us know what you're thinking. But this is an opportunity for everyone at home to see some experienced Zwifters work together in a group. And so the mechanics usually for a sort of a team's time trial setup, swapping off turns, is you pull your turn at the front, you let off the gas a little bit on the pedals, and then when your avatar gets to the last rider, that's when you accelerate again, when it's level, like the black and the Australian kit there is. You accelerate then to get you back into the sticky draft, and then you're back in your turn. That's generally how it works, Gracie. So hopefully we'll get to see these guys work together and see if they can stay away from the Pello, which is about 23 seconds away.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to work together if they want to stay from the group behind. It looks like a sizable group at 24 seconds behind, which, it's a long way, but it's also not. So if they start messing around, that gap comes down very quickly. So it was interesting to hear you talk about how they keep on the wheel in the esports racing, because in real life it's a bit more intuitive, and I've definitely made mistake plenty of times on Zwift and dropped the wheel, and I've watched groups ride away from me and I can't do anything about it. It's very frustrating. So I need to work on my timing, I think, in Zwift. So it was good to get a tip from you right there.
Oh well, I'm only fresh of getting dropped off the wheel on the descent, but the times trial in the Zwift Racing League in the last few weeks. We had a couple of teams time trials, so it was a practice there. But yeah, the guys doing well there. So obviously, someone they'll all be looking at the sort of table on the right hand side. Everyone that's watching will know. You sort of look at the power on the right hand side, and if you're doing 5 watts per kilo, and maybe the person directly behind you is also doing 5 watts per kilo, one of you needs to let it off because you can get a little bit of draft assistance. So we should see that front four have the front rider pushing 5 to 6 watts per kilo, and then the 3 riders behind just sort of sizzling around 3.5 to 4.5 watts per kilo. But the gap has gone up, Grace. It's gone up by 5 seconds.
They are increasing their gap, which is really interesting. So this tells us that these guys at the front are going pretty hard, and we can see that with their watts per kilo. It's sitting around 5 watts per kilo or so, depending on if they're in the wheel or not. And that group behind, they're sitting more in that 3.5 to 4 watts per kilo. So maybe they've decided that no one wants to chase in that group, which is, the gap's just going to keep blowing out very quickly. And in some ways, they're just riding themselves out of the race. They need to get going and get back to the front and work together, because it's already up to 30 seconds now. And if they get any more of a gap, then it's race over for everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of do want to see these guys go a 4 up, just throwing haymakers on the next time up the Bologna climb. It would be very interesting to see. But we can see that McLean has got the little orange jersey there. That is, or maybe it's Peak. My screen is just not up to scratch, but that's the sort of King of the Mountains jersey, I think. So he got the fastest time up there for Bologna. But I wondered, Gracie, have you, in your career, did you ever do any TT similar to this one, or this course, even though it's a race? Did you do anywhere it was a sort of a flat start and then the second half was uphill? And if you did, what were they like?
It's brutal. It's a tough way to do a time trial. And I'm actually thinking I've raced on this course, but in a road race. So I've not done a time trial in Bologna, but I've done a road race. So it's always blows my mind when I see roads that I've ridden in real life on Zwift. They absolutely, do such a great job in replicating things whenever I'm riding in London or Richmond, and now seeing Bologna. Like, I've been those places in real life and they've recreated them almost perfectly, albeit they're pretty bluebird days on screen, which is pretty nice. Sometimes I wasn't racing in such nice weather. But yeah, loving all of the graphics that they provide for us in these amazing places. I think it's such an awesome thing for everyone at home that doesn't get to travel to these places or race in them like we get to in World Tour racing, to do it online. Like, how cool is that, to do it from your garage or your living room or your spare room? It's brilliant. But back to your question about the time trial, man, if they put a hill in a time trial, that's just a bit cruel, isn't it?
I guess it depends who you ask, but yeah, it is a really cool feature that Zwift do when they can build a world that we've all ridden before, that it's in real life. And I'm kind of crossing my fingers for a Wollongong course, and I reckon maybe if I stand in the same spot in September for long enough, I might be captured by the Google Maps and then built into the game as a little spectator, as we can see on the left and right hand side in the archways. There they are, little scooter. But these 4 here really working well together. The gap hasn't exactly exploded, but at 30 seconds, that is significant. And these guys are now cruising and just sort of, I guess, you wouldn't be going in a 4 up, Gracie. You wouldn't be going full gas when you're pulling on the front, but maybe just above your threshold. What would you be doing in that sort of situation?
In real life, a group of 4 is actually quite an awkward number in a breakaway. You're just not quite getting enough rest. And it's a small enough group that you're always sussing each other out to see, who's pulling their equal share of the work. So in this esports kind of version of a 4-man breakaway, I think that's quite interesting to see, who's saving a little bit for that last climb, who's looking around, who wants to give it all and stay away from the peloton. There's a bit of different interests in this group, but they're retaining their gap and increasing it by the look of it. So, I think they are going to stay away today. They're all great time trialers. If the likes of Mark O'Brien's there, he's out for a good session. So I think he's got that ability
Mhm.
to hold some pretty high power for 20 minutes. And I think the guys with him are much the same. So they're happy to just keep going just around that threshold or a little bit over, as you're saying, when they hit the front and just having that rest when they can.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of a cool feature there we saw on the left in the men's where the breakaway were on one side of the road and the Pello was, they crossed each other almost under the archway, which is, that's actually kind of cool because usually in a race you don't see the bunch come from the other way. That was two-way traffic. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Really cool. But how about Georgie Howe still steaming along? She is the Oceania individual time trial champion, I believe, this year. And also, I mean, she's having an absolutely pinging year in real life. Fourth in the national TT. Uh, Obviously, the Oceania national champion as well in the time trial. Tour of Gippsland overall, right up there in the top 10 at the Santos for Festival of Cycling. She's having a good year, Gracie, and she wants to add the Bologna time trial course, AusCycling National Esports Series to her Palmares. That'll go on Pro Cycling
For
Stats for
sure.
sure.
Yep, that's definitely going on to Pro Cycling Stats. It's quite prestigious, really, isn't it? But looking at her power, wow, I'm impressed to hold around that 300 watts. She's 25 minutes in. That's a seriously high number to be still pushing out this far in. She is a super talent, and it was really cool to see her get such good results over the summer and the autumn in Australia. I really want AusCycling to take her to the World Championships this year for the time trial. She earned her spot
Mm.
by winning the Oceanias, so you know I think that she's much deserving to wear the green and gold this year in the home World Championships. We don't have that many top time trialers at the moment. We have Grace Brown, who's fourth at the Olympics last year, Sarah
Yeah.
Gigante as well, a up and comer and
Okay.
very big on Zwift. So I
Yeah.
just think that we just need to keep cultivating the talents such as Georgie Howe as well. And it's really cool to see her still coming on Zwift as well and making it fun because, that's what cycling's all about.
That's right. 100%. I really like those. Well, yeah, I really like what you said there. It's super, super good. And we're just on board now with Catherine Ellie and Jessica Bemrose, or Bemmers as she's known now forever. They've got a two up, sitting in second and third posse. Dee Davidson and Splicey McGarry, they're sort of one out now and just, I guess, operating in TT mode. But Bemmers and Ali, Bemrose, I think she won maybe three of the rounds already. So she'll be not used to being in front, but some experienced Swifters. And I guess at the moment, with 1 minute 42, Georgie Howe is just showing her strength. Really impressive. But Ali and Bemrose are not sort of just throwing in the towel and racking it. They are working together. And yeah, like you said, they're still getting a really solid training session in. This is not easy, as we just saw Georgie Howe go back the other way in the centre lines as well.
Yeah, Jessica Bemrose has been a real standout for this series so far. She's been doing really well. And Catherine Alley, also another super strong rider, mum of four. It's really awesome to see such a range of people on these races. So, yeah, I think Georgie, maybe she was just mistaken and thought the TT course meant a TT race and not a road race. But, that's her tactic, and she's definitely got the engine to back it up.
Yeah, definitely. Catherine Ellie, four kids. What a machine. That's awesome. She's probably got them all just sort of crowded around the ergo with little hand ups. Maybe one of them's got a towel, the other one's got the bit on, maybe cinnamon scroll, sort of baking. It's probably all happening. But over to the men's, we'll just check in and see how they're going. Don't forget, if you're listening, if you're watching on the live stream, get in the comments and just give us a few tips and what you think is going to happen here. But the men's race, we've still got out front, and very interestingly, if that's a word, Gracie, the gap is gone right down. It's in half. They've only got a 15-second lead. The bunch is moving.
looks like the bunch has finally got its act together because there's a sizable group there that needed to pull their finger out, and it looks like they have, which is really good. I was, a bit on the fence. I did want to see these guys play it out on that final climb, but I didn't want the bunch to just give it away. So I think that this is going to make for an interesting race, and yeah, they're definitely bringing down that gap ever so surely.
Yeah, so we've got, how about this machine? That's a really nice in-game Zwift kit as well, K Stewart. So I'm not sure what flag that is. It's a really unique flag. But yeah, the bunch is really got organised. And I reckon it might have been a little bit of a delay for everyone to get on the keyboards in their little sort of Discord chats and see who made that peloton, the second chasing group of the teams, and they sort of maybe organise and say, all right, Aero's got 4 guys in that break, in the bunch, so they're not going to chase. And all the other teams just getting themselves organised to put in a proper chase. So I think that's what we've seen. We can see an Aero rider there in fourth wheel. That might be Crawley, but he's not going to go to the front, but he's just staying near the front so that perhaps when the game mechanics sort of sometimes you can get pushed to the front on a downhill or an uphill, depending on your sort of weight profile. And if he finds himself on the front of the bunch, he can then let off the gas and it kind of disrupts the chase like you do see now and again. But plenty of aero riders in there and they'll just be able to get that license, Gracie, to sit in the bunch, save energy and hopefully launch when they reach and bring back that front group. But it's still 15 seconds. They're holding.
Yeah, 15 seconds is really not a lot when it comes to a climb of a 2K length, and especially with some steeper sections. So they are going to need this gap because, as you said, there's some riders there that are just staying a little bit fresher, and it's a big group, so you're able to hide a little bit more. I think that they're probably going to start playing a little bit of cat and mouse now too. They're not that far from the start of the climb. I think they're about to hit it now, actually, the front group of 4 and the bunch behind. We're probably going to see a few people launching it in maybe another minute or two.
Yeah, that's right. They've just passed a set of bins, which I thought was really good, and some scooters stacked up, maybe a Lambretta, perhaps. But this group of 4, they've got quite a gap, 15 seconds. Now, we saw they opened up a 30-second gap on the climb with the peloton. So someone's going to need to do some sort of nuclear alien level overhaul to come from the Pello, bridge to this gap, and then still drop the likes of McLean and O'Brien on this berg. But the question is how much has staying away sort of sapped their legs? And let's see if McLean can back up. He's got the orange jersey for the fastest time up the Bologna climb to the church of St. Luca, but O'Brien is on the front, and we're just going to see just sevens, just the walking sticks, Gracie. Sevens in the watts per kilo category, and look at them go. They are moving, and the gap is going out again.
Oh, if these watts per kilo are making my eyes water, these guys are going ham now. They've got nothing to lose. They're not going to leave anything left on the road. They're pushing it up to that 500 watts mark. That's a lot. So they're going to be, breathing hard now, sweating all over their trainer and their bikes in real life. But they're all still staying together, and the bunch, they've increased that gap on the bunch. I can't see anyone trying to jump across just yet. We look like we're losing Coslet a little bit. He's just dagging off the back there of this group of 4. Mark O'Brien looks like the strongest, but is someone going to, take it to him in that last kilometre?
Yes, of course. Goslet's just been dropped there in the Bumblebee kit. I don't mind that one. Just it's a good kit. You get that as soon as you start the game. But yes, the top 3 are certainly firing everything they've got. We're finishing at the top of this climb. It's 12%. That's when your trainer really starts to bite, unless you're on one of those Aldi trainers, but you wouldn't be because it's Zwift Power recognised. O'Brien is pulling away. He is pulling away, and 400, 430 watts. 86 RPM, so he's probably still in the seat. We might see the RPM drop down if he gets out of the seat in the real steep section. Maybe interesting to watch when he do get to this little hairpin here. We'll see if the cadence goes down to around the 70 mark, when it may indicate that he's out of the seat, just to give the back and stuff a rest. But 10%, it is burning, and he's opening up a huge gap. McLean and Aiden Sinclair still together. The gap to the bunch has gone out again, and O'Brien is looking very, very good here as he approaches the steepest section.
Doesn't look like anyone's going to get back to O'Brien. He has been the strongest by the look of it in this race today. It looked like he was just holding back a little bit coming into this final climb because he was going to give it his all. That's a pretty decent gap now. 6 seconds to McLean, 10 seconds to Sinclair, and then they just blow out after that. The bunch is in pieces by the look of it. Everyone's scrapping and scrambling.
That's right. It's just a sea of red jelly beans on the little avatar map there, but all around that 5 or 6 watts per kilo, and that's in the chasing group, Gracie. There was plenty of riders that were shelled out the back of that, and they might not even be at the climb yet. Won't pronounce that Belgian last name, Lugene, but we've got this group here sort of just staying together. This is around the 7th position. We're on board B. Broer, and they're hitting the steeper section here now, really biting the trainer now. We've got a little climbing bike there as well in the orange jersey, in the Belgian. And we've got feathers. That's the first power-up I've seen. I have not seen a power-up, Gracie. I didn't know they were activated for this game, but this guy has gone full green, and Mr. Smart, of course, Bastard's there as well, and they're around the 6 watts per kilo mark. Certainly not like the front group, which were just hovering on 7 watts per kilo.
Gosh, he must have had that power up tucked away in his pocket. Yes, look, Mark O'Brien has put in a stellar effort today. 19 seconds, 20 seconds ahead of McLean in such a short climb, relatively short climb. That is a big gap. That's a great effort by Marco today. I know he'll be pretty happy with himself. It's not Buninyong, but it's not too far off.
Is it a similar 6? What's Buninyong? Is Buninyong about 8 minutes?
It'd be less. Yeah, I think it's more like 5 or 6 minutes for the guys. But
wow,
yeah,
okay.
Maybe, yeah. I always forget what it is because I think I block it out of my mind, and now it's forever blocked because I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, of course. You could still ride for leisure. We saw Mark O'Brien use his aero power up probably a little bit early, used on the 7 sort of percent section when I think he might have wanted to deposit it after this little S-bend through here. But 11% says it kicks up again. The gap's gone out to sort of 25, 28 seconds. Mitch McGovern from the CDF. Shout out to the Cycling Development Foundation. He's in 4th place now, and he's trying, I think he's got a little bit of a hope to try and mow down Aiden Sinclair. And you always like it when we look at McGovern's position there. You like seeing the riders you're chasing ahead of you doing less watts per kilo. So he'll be just sort of glancing to the right, seeing 6, 6.6, and then looking at McLean and seeing 4s and going, okay, that gap is ticking down, so perhaps something to watch. The gap between McGovern and McLean. I think McLean's bone a gasket, and I wonder if McGovern can make it, because this is O'Brien, and he is going across the line. He's going to win this round. But McLean is fighting to hold on to 3rd place, Gracie.
Yeah, he really blew up. Yep, I think he's coming around. This is a tough finish. Jeez.
Yeah. This is Sinclair. Sinclair's been passed by McLean, and maybe McGovern is going to catch Sinclair. McLean kept a little sprint in his pocket. I wonder if McGovern going to close down 4 seconds. It's going to be pretty close, but perhaps not enough as a super chase. Pergot in 4th place, the Frenchman, just operating in the AusCycling world, I suppose. GC, not so much today. Coslet, but still holding on for 6th place. And you kind of, in these climbing hilltop finishes, you always want to try and maintain your position a little bit more than when you're on a flat sprint. It's just something about the game.
Yeah, look, there's so many can't even get the words out, tricks and tips to learn in this different kind of sport. Looked like a few people were saving their power ups right for the end, but I'm sure
Mm.
everyone is completely spent. That's a tough way to finish a bike race.
Yeah, it certainly is. We can see Georgie Howe just cruising now. She's sort of hovering on 5.4, 5 watts per kilo. Geez, up to that's around 400 watts. That is seriously impressive at the sort of back end of this climb on the steepest section. 69 RPM. That's definitely out of the seat territory, unless she's born in the 20s. But 67 RPM beats per minute, 170 as well. She's certainly cooking right now, and her gap is huge. But interestingly, 2 minutes 45. I mean, yes, you could basically walk up there now. But Jessica Bemrose and Catherine Alley, they are locked in a battle. I'd love to see a bit of this. And there they
It's
are.
been
Look
such an
through the trees.
impressive performance from Georgie, not just because of her gap to everyone else, but just those numbers, like you were saying, over
Mm.
350 watts. Like, that's crazy for a female to do it by nearly 40 minutes in. Really cool to see her on such top form. And these two women behind, Ali and Bemrose, I think they're having a really great ride as well today. So despite
Mm.
Georgie's huge gap, I think that they're actually putting in also a great performance today. And I wonder who will attack first.
Yeah, they're definitely holding something back, no doubt about it. Um, like they'll be going super hard, but I think they are just, they're just watching each other's power on the right hand side for sure. And have you ever been in a situation, Gracie, in real life when you've been climbing one up with another woman in a race, like whether it be for at the front or in the middle at the back, and have you been in that situation? And
I love that you
what was
put
it
in
like?
front, middle, or back because no, I would not would never classified myself as a climber. So I have definitely ridden climbs side to side with someone, but it's usually because it was a friend and we were helping each other get to the top because it was a stage of the Giro or another tough tour, and we are just trying to finish. So it wasn't much of a race; it was more just a morale thing. I always wished I could have been in the situation like this where you're really testing someone else. So I do love to watch
Mm.
mountain stages in, women's and men's racing, like the Giro at the moment. It's been awesome to watch
Oh.
some of the guys going for GC. It's something that I just could never quite master, but that's okay. We all have our strengths.
We certainly do. Mine is eating cinnamon buns, but I do ride for them. Spicy, in the meantime, has just been distanced now by Davidson, which is interesting. But she is fighting back and just trying to hold her there. And it's funny when talking about the sort of the two up when you're climbing with someone. I remember Annemiek van Vleuten came to the Turramurra River in the Republic of WA a few years ago. She was racing for one of the corporate teams, and she was telling us that when she was climbing with another, in a race, and she was one out with another top contender, she would maybe Norman Passio, maybe she would climb as close to that her opponent as possible. So not side by side, not on the wheel. She would literally try and ride as close as she could, just to let her know that like she's right there, like almost touching, which I thought is a super staunch move. And when you can do it, I mean, why not?
Yeah, Annemiek is one of the world's best climbers. And if you look at her Strava times, she can beat most guys as well. I've done a lot of training
Oh
with
yeah.
Annemiek over the years in the mountains. And there was one particular training camp before the Rio Olympics. And I felt like I cried at the end of every day just trying to keep up with her. But look, now she was a fun training partner. Certainly made me very fit.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah,
can imagine her
definitely.
doing that tactic of riding very close to someone. I think that's a real mind game on that.
Yeah, certainly is. And we saw Georgie Howe cross the line in first place just before cruising well and truly ahead of the other girls on the TT rig, channeling a bit of Annemiek van Vleuten, which, by the way, I wonder if everyone was watching. If you were, put it in the comments who watched her win Liège Bastogne Liège. That was insane. God, she was so good then. But we're looking at Bemrose and Ali now. They're still just sort of two up. There's about, about a kilometre or a little bit less than a K left, Gracie, but it'll feel so much longer than that. How about the Zwift banners on the archway? 666 of those things. That is insane. And it ends at the top of a church, so those numbers don't really go hand in hand, or sometimes they do if you're watching Angels and Demons with that actor. But anyway, Ben Rose and Spicy, I think they're saving something a little bit. They're out of the seat here, Ben Rose. She's 58 RPM, Cipollini style, really, really hurting. They're waiting for it to come and just sort of flatten off here. And I wonder, as Ben Rose pushes on, I wonder, Gracie, do you think they've got a power up their sleeve?
I do wonder, they're really sticking together, and it was going up to 14%. There's that low cadence. They're just heavy now on their bikes. It's going to be hurting quite a lot now to still, stick together like this. They're really digging in. So, yeah, I wonder when they're going to activate those power ups, waiting for the last
Yeah.
minute, look by the look of it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's nail biting. About 400 meters to go. It kind of reminds me of the Zwift Academy on the women's side when the coaches made them right up the climbs and they took out their ETAP batteries. So they had to do a strength effort. Really bizarre, but this is what it's reminded me of because they're just pushing a big gear here, and this is the flattest that it gets to the line, 5%. So if you've got a aero power up, you use it now. But there is an opportunity to use a feather in a moment as it sort of ticks up. It does get back up to 10, I believe. And this is Ben Rose. She's starting to stomp on the old Shimano SPDs or maybe the speed plays, but she's pushing on here and testing Ali, and Ali's responding. And she's got the air, she's got the bus. This is the draft boost. You're not going to get a lot of draft at 10%, but it might make you just feel a little bit good like a fresh pair of socks. But she's trying to get back to Ben Rose, and she is staying in touch. Now she'll get a bit of draft with the bus, but Ben Rose is holding 7 watts per kilo. Holy moly, we're coming to the line. Not long to go, about 100 meters, and now aero boost from Ben Rose, so that's the bus. No draft from her. Ali's coming up behind. I think Ali's got the speed. Is she going to get into the draft? 4%, but Ben Rose is holding on, and she's kicked across the line, and she's held off. She's held off Ali. What a battle.
That was a great battle between Ali and Bremrose. I loved how they were figuring out when to use their power ups. That gap just couldn't quite get closed though. Now we're watching Davidson and Spicy. Is Spicy going to get spicier? That's the question. Is she going to also use a power up in that same moment?
We'll see. They've both got the Pinktron bike, double flex there. Spicy for the DC. So I'm not sure what club the DCC is. Someone have to say in the comments. But Dana Davidson, we've got the first name now. Dana, I like the sound of that. This is this really steep section. This is where Jessica Benrose laid her attack when we saw those two battling it out for second and third posse. And I wonder, will Kate step on the pedals and just test out Dana Davidson? But looking at the sort of Zwift power here, Dana is the lighter of the two riders, and on cue, wow, it's like I telegraphed it, 6%. She's made the attack on the steep section, and can Kate Spicy just activate the chili power up and get back on terms? Dana looks good, Gracie.
She does look good. She's coming from the Southern Cross Cycling Club. She's really just waited to use her power, her personal power up all the way right to the end. Kate Spicy from Dubbo Cycling Club. Shout out to Dubbo tonight. Look, they had a good mano a mano at the end there, but it looked like Davidson just had that last little bit of extra power at the end.
Yeah, she certainly did, and I wonder. Yep, that was actually quite a cool course to to call, wasn't it, Grace? That was pretty cool. Seeing the finish, and the climbing is a climbing finish is good to watch because it slows everything down, doesn't it? You can kind of see it happen in the real time.
That's right. Because I didn't have to race, I'm going to say that that was my favorite course so far to commentate. I think if I was racing, I would have different opinions. But look, everyone had, you know, a really great ride tonight. It was really cool to see some of those, riders that have such good power over the 10 and 20-minute duration, such as Mark O'Brien, to get the win tonight. So yeah, it was a really good one to watch, and also really cool to see Georgie Howe, someone that I've got my eye on at the moment in real life racing, to be one of the next big things for Australia, to do so well tonight in the women's race.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. We're going to look at the results now, just to recap what happened and look at these little Mitch McGovern, third place, really pushed at the end. Aidan Sinclair was there, and then Mark O'Brien just cleaning up, dominated the first time up, the Bologna climb, and then the second time as well. And then the women's, we'll get to those shortly, but a good ride for Mitch McGovern as we look at the women's. Catherine Ellie for third posse, Bemrose in second, and of course, Georgie Howie, the Oceania individual time trial champion, just taking the win, and a good 1, 2, 3 names we've seen all season long in the AusCycling Esports series.
Yep, that was a
But yeah,
really great race from all of the women and the men tonight.
yeah, it really was. And this course you can ride event only, so look out for that one on Zwift. It is quite good to use for maybe if you want to do a little bit of a power test, or you just want to relive the 2019 Giro, which, by the way, it's worth a watch. You want to go back and look at that. But Gracie, that was a lot of fun tonight. Thanks for calling this one with me.
Yep, I had fun too, so thanks for having me.
No worries, no worries. All right, legends. Well, we'll see everyone again for round 6 of the AusCycling Esports series. Share this, comment it, and we'll see you all again next week.